to the entertainer talking sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Hope everybody's staying safe out there. Going to try to have a couple of videos up for you guys today. But in my first video, I'm going to talk about the public comments that came out late yesterday from Joe Judge regarding his quarterback, Daniel Jones. Of course, Joe Judge this entire offseason has remained silent about his players in terms of, individually for the most part. Obviously, he's talked about his draft picks, but really hasn't talked about anybody on the roster publicly, not wanting to put anybody above the rest. Well, he finally broke the silence, and I'm assuming he was probably waiting until after the draft, till he had the team set, and he absolutely loves Daniel Jones. I'm going to get into some of the quotes and talk about some of the things he had to say, but I'm not really surprised by this. I mean, you look at what Joe Judge has, the players that he's drafted, some of the things that he looks for in players, and I mean, that defines Daniel Jones. We all remember the stories about Daniel Jones last year when he came into the league, was the first one in, the last one out, was like a sponge behind Eli Manning. And Joe Judge has said time and time again, he wants to be a teacher, and he wants players who want to be taught, who have that drive to get better. Well, I think Daniel Jones certainly possesses that. Is he a finished product? No, but Joe Judge probably sees something in this kid, and he thinks he can get the most out of him, and make no mistakes about it. Joe Judge knows when he took this job, or knew rather, when he took this job, that Daniel Jones was going to be his quarterback, and he knows that a head coach is only as good as his quarterback. And if he didn't see something in this kid, I don't think he would have taken the job. Let's also not forget that we heard the rumors when Daniel Jones was drafted that the New England Patriots were very interested in his services. So all these things need to be taken into account, and I'm sure Joe Judge liked this kid from the start, but it's refreshing to hear him say some of the things that he had to say about his quarterback, hopefully for the next 10 to 15 years, as they're both a coach and quarterback together. But let's jump into some of the quotes from Joe Judge regarding Daniel Jones. Got these off Giants Wire. First thing he had to say was, "I'm very excited about working with Daniel," Judge said. "I love his toughness and competitiveness. Those shine through right away." And you know what? You saw it on the field last year. He's not a guy that's going to get in his players' faces, but you saw the fire in him. Even more so than with a guy like Eli Manning. It was kind of like easy. This guy definitely, and not saying that Eli Manning didn't have competitiveness, but he shows it more. Definitely has that toughness and competitiveness, and he's just talking about here how he's really looking forward to working with him. The next thing he went on to say, "I love working with this guy every day," Judge said. "He has a fire that burns in him. He brings other guys along with him. He knows what you are going to teach before you teach it in terms of being prepared on material. He sets the tone for the room." And that's what a quarterback should do, right? The quarterback's supposed to be the leader of the football team. More often than not, is supposed to be the most intelligent and most prepared person on a football team. Everybody knows it's very hard to be a quarterback, and Jones now is going to have to learn a new playbook. He's going to have to go through the whole thing all over again, but he goes on to say he's got that fire in him. He brings other guys. That's what you want in a quarterback, a leader of the football team, and Judge is just talking very positive about Jones there. Next thing he says, "I want to be fair to Daniel right now and let him have the opportunity to learn the offense he's working in right now. That he's never taken a snap in, and let him progress at his rate and develop his career over the course of time that's going to go ahead and meet the expectations we set internally." So, yeah, that's only fair. I've talked about that, especially with what's going on in the world right now. You could only, you can't expect Daniel Jones to come out on fire when the season starts, especially if the offseason is shortened. He doesn't have time to work with his players, things of that nature. Now, the good news is Daniel Jones still has pretty much the same roster in terms of weapons to throw to. So he's familiar with Darius Slayton, Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard. He has a new offense that he definitely has to learn, though. And hopefully, if his players around him can remain healthy with an improved offensive line, that should only help Daniel Jones progress. And then finally, just very simply, Judge said, "I'm glad he's on our team." Let's put it that way. So finally, Joe Judge comes out and backs up his quarterback, which, I mean, anybody with a brain knows that Joe Judge he plans everything out. You look at his coaching staff, you look at the free agents he brought in, this was planned out months in advance. He knew the coaching staff he wanted to institute probably 2 years ago. This is a very smart man. He knew the quarterback he was getting. He knew the market he was stepping into. And he wouldn't have taken this job if he didn't like Daniel Jones. I have no doubt in my mind. I expect Daniel Jones to be the quarterback for the foreseeable future. Seems to be the type of player that Joe Judge would like to coach. Hard worker, very smart guy. It seems like a perfect marriage, and I think it will be. I'm looking forward to seeing the next decade of Daniel Jones and Joe Judge together as they build this New York Giants football team. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.